And he just like pulls a chair, flips it around, sits on it backwards, and it becomes really clear. First of all, he's holding the chef's knife casually, and he has a gun. I was like, locks have been changed. We're locked out. I pay to live here. Like, I just want my stuff and I will go. And I called the cops. What was even weirder about this is I swear to you, she bought an apron for the occasion.
Here is part 2 of our interview with Chelsea.
I do know that Rachel was probably only there for a month. Like, it was very soon after that we both were like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because you also feel a little crazy. Like, Elle has all of these people surrounding her all of the time who really would live or die for her. And you have to ask yourself, like, am I like a square? Am I a stick in the mud? Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
Chelsea, I've done that. I do that sometimes. I'm like, am I crazy?
Yeah. And so I think having Rachel in the scenario, validating what I saw or was seeing, and even bringing it up first in many situations made me feel like, okay, we can call this what it is now. And we devised a plan. I don't remember exactly what the lie was, but I do remember being like, we can't make her mad. You know, we live in the house. Like, we live in this house. She has access to all of our things. Like, we can't make her mad, because making her mad, we already knew meant making our lives a living hell, however that looked like. And so, yeah, we like came up with a lie, and we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give her 60 days notice. We're going to tell her that we both got jobs in Boston, you know? So like, it doesn't make sense for us to live here. Like, we have to make it irrefutable and not personal. And we have to give her so much notice that she can't possibly say she's been put out. And like, we couldn't even afford to really do that, but we found a way to do that, to pay her rent while also possibly paying rent somewhere else, you know? And yeah, that went to shit quickly.
Yeah. So how did you? Okay, so you were like, we gotta get out of here. We're gonna tell her that we're moving to Boston, and that's the story. And then like one day you did like, did you in person, or did you call her, text her? Like, what was the situation?
Yeah. So like I said, I don't actually remember what the lie was. I just know that we made one. And I do remember me and Rachel were at dinner and we were like, how are we going to do this? And then we came up with this irrefutable lie, whatever it was. And we were like, okay, we're feeling good about this. Maybe 3 margaritas in, maybe that's how we're feeling good, but we're feeling good. And we sent her a text message. I think I did it because I was closer with Elle. As soon as Rachel moved in, Elle had a lot of jealousy going on, which we can also talk about. But so I was definitely the one to send the message, because I knew, like, if Rachel had done it, it would have been awful.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? Did you, prior to sending the message, were you having anxiety about sending it?
Oh my God. I mean, I needed to be 3 margaritas at deep. Like, it was a necessity. I was like sweating, shaking, as was Rachel. We were both like, oh my God, how is this gonna end for us? Like,
She has that fucking gift.
and you know, I don't know that either of us had in our mind any real idea, right? Like, I don't think that we were specifically scared of a certain scenario. I think we just knew generally that it was not going to be good. She's scary when she's mad, man. Like,
Well, yeah, the jealousy thing. What was that? Because that's, behavior that maybe one day you'll listen to Blink, an episode, I think it's 13, goes pretty heavily into like some versions of that and how she kind of helped and worked with Jake like through his situation. But yeah, what was the jealousy stuff?
yeah. So, I mean, like I mentioned, right? As soon as we met, it felt kismet. Like, we were connected for sure. And I don't think she realized that I slowly like moved away from that feeling, or quickly, I guess it's all relative. And then when Rachel moved in, I mean, suddenly I was getting text messages that I wouldn't even get from a jealous boyfriend. Like her expectations of me were so wild. I would be like at the grocery store and I would receive 3 pages of just like, are you guys really going to go to dinner and not even invite me? Like, I invited you to live in my house. I work so hard for this house. I have people lined up to be my friend, to live here, to this, to that, whatever. And I would just be like, I'd like send her a picture of like, the
Eggs.
sauce on
I'm
the
getting
wall.
eggs.
Like,
I'm getting
yeah. And I'd
eggs.
just be like, do you want something? Like, I don't know where this is coming from.
Novels, novel text. I mean,
Novels.
novels. I
Novels.
I've received those as well.
And like I said, I mean, Jake, no offense, but like I didn't even marry this girl. You know what I mean? Like I've lived with her for a month and I'm getting these text messages and I'm just like, and part of me at first is a little bit like, okay, maybe she's like manic depressive. I don't know. Like maybe this is really a trigger for her. Maybe she's like, maybe this is more something, right? And so I think I came in the beginning at it from like a very apologetic standpoint where I was just like, oh my God, I'm really sorry if this is how you feel, because that's not, my intention. But then you think about it for one more second and you're like, wait, what? Like, am I not allowed to leave the house? Am I not allowed to like spend time with anyone else? Because tough shit. Like I have 3 jobs and I'm a full-time student. So I can't be here with you all day apparently while you're not at work. Like that's just not reality for me.
And so when you would get home and you were like, I was at the grocery store, would she be like, and again, 11 years ago, but would she be like, oh, I'm sorry? Or would she be like, oh, I just wanted to make sure that I was invited to something
Oh, neither.
in case it
She
was
would
going on? Okay.
completely pretend like it never happened.
Damn.
And you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like so I was in a bedroom. Like when I lived there, I had a bedroom and Rachel was up on in a loft. So she didn't even have walls to her room. It was like a ladder up to a loft. And I just remember we would like text each other from like under our covers, essentially, being like, okay, I'll leave now. You leave in 20 minutes because we don't want it to even seem like, and we'd both be going to work. You know what I mean? Like we weren't even hanging out, but we were like, we don't want to add to this narrative at all. Like we just don't need it, you know?
So crazy you guys had to do that, but I can see it. I also unpacked that loft and I know exactly like I can picture you guys doing that and I can feel what it felt like to have to like plan to get away and get out of like without her putting it together, which is
Yeah.
and you're right, I was married to her, but like I get how she could do that to anyone she wanted to.
Yeah. And I could definitely see her pattern was to latch really hard to someone and something until it no longer served her. And then she would pretend like that thing never existed and she would latch on to the next. And I was just like waiting for my moment for her to unlatch. But then you're also kind of scared of that because you're like, well, I live with her. So what does that look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it's an attempted murder?
Is it?
I don't know. I'm just saying things.
Right.
Oh God. So you send her a text. It's like, okay, we are moving, and then you go home. And what were you met with a chill reaction to that?
So it definitely wasn't chill, but I can't remember the exact sequence of events. Like, was it later that night? Was it a different day? I'm not sure. I What I vaguely remember is that she made herself scarce for a few days. And I only remember that because I remember having so much anxiety about the first time I would see her after sending that message. And it kept not happening. And I kept being like, oh my God, I just want to get this over with because this is even worse, you know?
Kelsey, I can feel what that feels like. Like I know what that feels like. Yeah.
And then yeah. So when it finally happened, because the shoe was gonna drop, right? I just didn't know how or when.
So you sent these messages, you didn't see her for a few days. She just like
Yeah,
kind of disappeared to
yeah,
you.
yeah. And like I said, like
Okay.
she has lots of friends. She was always really busy, like socially. I mean, it's a little weird that she was hanging out with people and it wasn't at the house, but I just figured like, oh, this is uncomfortable for her too. Great. We're all really uncomfortable. Perfect.
And you're just walking around as a ball of anxiety for several days.
Yeah.
Okay.
So me and Rachel went to work. One of my jobs at the time happened to be with Rachel. We worked at the same place in the mall. And we were both closing. And so we both got out at the same time. And we went home and we were met with absolute chaos. It was Elle and some dude in the kitchen cooking. Honestly, it looked like they were pretending to cook. It was so I I really can't even explain to you how surreal this all was. And we're trying to get in the door and they're just watching us like deadpan face, no emotion, nothing, just watching us try to get in the door. And I quickly realized the locks have been changed. Like my key is not Rachel's key is not, working. And they're literally just like chopping vegetables, looking at us like no. And I'm like, is this
Like a horror. That's like a horror film. That's like a horror. I can like picture it as a horror film. It's like, holy shit.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
yeah. And I'm like, is this real? And I'm like pissed. I had like a triple that day. I went from job to job to job. Like all I want is to get in my bed, like, and for her to just figure out how to be an adult about this. But that clearly was not going to happen. So then this dude who's in this kitchen, who was like her latest and greatest, right? He had only been around for not that long, actually. Like, he seemed like a new toy. I'll say that.
But you had met him
I had met
before.
him a couple times,
Okay.
but like,
Okay. Okay.
truly, of all the
Yeah.
people that came in and out of that house, like, whatever. So he goes over to like, there was a little tiny round table with like two chairs at it in the kitchen. That was like the dining room or whatever. And he just like pulls a chair, flips it around, sits on it backwards, and it becomes really clear. First of all, he's holding the chef's knife casually, and he has a gun. And I was like,
What?
"Oh, okay." So this is and he literally like faces the chair to just look out. The door that enters the kitchen has window panes on it, right? So we're just looking
So,
at each other.
and you're trying to, you realize your key's not working and he's staring at you
Yeah.
and you can visibly see a gun and he's holding a
And a
knife.
knife. Yeah. And he's
Yo,
like,
that has to be like, this is 11 years ago. Is it straight up like kind of seared? This whole situation in Rachel's brains has to be, right? That's insane.
to some degree for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I felt like I was in a movie, but also wasn't surprised at the same time. It was surreal. It was so surreal. And honestly, Rachel's a little bit fiery, and I love that about her. And I have had a day and I'm not the one. And I'm never that person, but like today, I'm not the one. I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. Can we not just grow up about this? Like this is an insane reaction to this. And so then I start thinking, I'm honestly not really scared of him in that moment because now in my mind, Elle is such a child that I almost can't take this seriously. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So I call the cops because while I'm not afraid of her or him, I am afraid of what they can do to my things. And at that age and time in my life, you know, that would have been like a devastating blow to not have my things. Like, you can't really afford to come back from that, right?
Of course.
So I was like, fuck this. And I called the cops. And I do remember I didn't mention the weapons because I was wary. Like, she does know people, like I said, who would live and die for her. And I was not interested. I just wanted this scenario to be over, right? I wasn't trying to like encourage future scenarios, if that makes sense. So I was like, locks have been changed. We're locked out. I pay to live here. Like, I just want my stuff and I will go. Like, I'm not interested in prolonging this, whatever. And the cop sent someone while we were waiting for the cops. I worked at a restaurant at the time. I had to call like one of my regulars. He was the only person I knew with a truck. And I called him crying and I begged. I mean, this truck was like, he's a landscaper. It's a nice truck. I was like an irresponsible 20 whatever year old. I was crying, begging him. I was like, you don't understand the situation. I can't even talk to you right now, but I need your truck. And I got his truck and the cops came and we finally like got into the house and Elle was still cooking fucking dinner. Like none of this was happening.
And no words had been exchanged between y'all in this period of time.
No.
So like you're outside, you're calling cops,
Yeah.
and it's not like she didn't say anything out the window, nothing. Like finally cops come, you go in together.
And mind you, too, what was even weirder about this is I swear to you, she bought an apron for the occasion. Like, she's not Holly Homemaker, but I promise you, this was one of her like buys at Walmart that day.
She went to Walmart and picked out her apron.
I'm serious. And I
Yeah,
felt like
it's
I was in a horror movie, like
diabolical, Jake. It's diabolical.
I was just like, what is happening? She's in this frilly fucking apron trying to pretend like she's Holly Homemaker. Meanwhile, like she definitely just had a dude not threaten us, but like,
Well,
Yeah.
kinda.
Had this dude had a gun previously when he
I
was
don't
over?
know.
Like, did you remember a gun? You don't know,
No,
but
no.
like
I mean, no. But
that being visible is
I was
just
never
like
Sure, she
interested
was like,
in being friends with her friends because they're very much the type of people who would have guns. I never saw one, but yeah, just I wasn't surprised at all.
I'm sure she called it out. She was like, and when do you come over? Why don't you bring that 380 you're always like, bring that over.
It
and
was
I'm gonna wear an apron and we're gonna pretend
yeah.
like we're a civil couple.
It was just the strangest thing. And then we were in the kitchen and she was like trying to speak like, yeah, officer, I own this house and they can come back at a designated hour, like she was trying to like, and I was just like, I'm not trying to come back. I'm trying to get my stuff and I'm trying to leave. And I think eventually they were kind of like, do these people pay to live here? If yes, you need to give them access to the home. And it eventually became, y'all have 1 hour. They asked us, I think, do you feel safe? And we were like, not really.
Yeah.
And
No.
um
But
and
I got this
we're like,
landscaping truck and a weed whacker now, so I'm like I feel a little bit more safe. But
so they were like, okay, you have an hour to collect your things. And a cop stood in the kitchen for an hour. And I mean, he was like looking at his watch every 5 minutes. He did not want to be there. I didn't want to be there. None of us wanted to be there. Now, Rachel, I told you, lived in a loft. So we're like throwing mattresses down this loft. We're like, filling trash bags. I mean, we're like, leave the furniture, like take what you can grab, you know? And of course, while we're packing, I realized like, I have a work laptop, gone. I have a personal laptop, gone.
gone.
Everything gone, right? Like there are things that are gone. I bought like 3 or 4 air conditioning units for the house, gone. And like I said, I'm lucky enough now in my life that I could recover from something like that. But at that time, like I could
I mean,
not.
for anyone, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
all your shit's gone. Like
Like
what? That's insane.
it was truly insane. But
But you just had to get out of there. I mean,
yeah,
get away from her. She's like a.
but it was so calculated, Jake, because my bed was still made in pristine condition, right? Like my clothes were still hanging. It was like she knew what she was gonna take to like ruin me. and she did it while we were at work. Like it was just so strange. And so, yeah, we took what we could, which honestly ended up being pretty much everything because we didn't have a lot. But, me and Rachel are like 120 pounds soaking wet, like carrying mattresses up. So you don't know this, Justin, but this house was like deep down a very steep hill. So you had to go down like 50 wooden steps that were like this steep, this tall, and like this thick. So you're like tripping, falling, like sweating, like it's work to get to and from this house from the street. And we're just like hauling ass. We have an hour and the cop keeps reminding us like how much time we have. And Elle continues to get less and less friendly as this interaction goes on. She's like telling the cop, like, I know cops in Marlboro or Hudson or whatever town we were in. I don't even remember. She was like, I know cops, like, this is ridiculous. You can't do this. She was yelling at me and Rachel. She was like, again, with I have people lined up to live here. Like, I have people lined up to be my friend. Like, I work so hard for this house. All I ask is that you guys pay rent and that, whatever. And so we're like listening to her chirp. We're listening to the cop like count down the minutes, and we're just like stuffing stuff in trash bags, like sweating. It was such a mess. It was such a mess.
Realizing real time that like your work laptop was taken,
Yeah.
your other whatever else was gone, and you're like, holy shit.
And mind you, we have nowhere to go. Like, where are we going to go? We don't have friends that can like take us in. All of our friends live with their parents. Like, we're just, yeah. So that's how that kind of
wild.
ended.
And was that the last time you talked to her? Like, did you end up paying rent for 2 months? What happened?
I think we did pay rent for 2 months, specifically because we were going to take her to small claims court for all of the stuff. And we didn't want to be anywhere near fault for anything, right? Like, we wanted to just be upstanding citizens. Like, I mean, honestly, we had been up until that point, right? Like, we really did try to be fair to her, whether it was out of fear or not, doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I think we did end up paying her. And then we ended up taking her to small claims court because, like I said, I mean, that's not a small amount of money or belongings when you're that age or in whatever situation we were in. And so court was the last time that we saw her.
Crazy and fitting also. I've said previously, like the number of times this woman has been in and around courthouses like blows my mind. Like more than anyone I've ever.
It is true. Yeah. And I wonder how she has done a great job of scrubbing the records of it, because I went for a blink, I went all around every courthouse and got all these records, but I didn't find you.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm curious to find me. Yeah. I mean, I did do a quick like Google search. I don't know how this stuff works at all, but like when we started talking, I was like, I wonder if it was the Framingham courthouse or the Marlboro court or whatever it was. And I like tried to do a quick search, and then I quickly realized that's not really how you look for that stuff. And
so I went into the courthouses of Marlboro, Westboro, Worcester, not Framingham. And I actually got on their archaic little computer and searched like her everything going back like 20 years. And I found a lot of shit, but not you.
That's crazy.
And so it makes me wonder, and that's just in like 4 towns in Mass.
Right. Well, so did the small claims thing work in your favor? Like, did you get what you asked for?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That was also a really surreal experience.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Again, like the details of my memory, probably not there, but I remember the gist, which was, I remember she showed up in like a suit. And I remember being like, this is so like, where are we? Like, what movie are you in right now? I don't understand what's going on. And we sat down, and, the judge gives you 2 minutes. I mean, frankly, they don't really care, right? But they gave us like 2 minutes to say our piece, and then they gave her 2 minutes to say her piece, and just like tone and the words that she was using, so performative, you know? Meanwhile, like, me and Rachel were just stating facts. We were like, look, this is the day that this happened. This is the stuff that we had before it happened, and this is the stuff that we no longer have. Like, I don't really know. You know, we made attempts to contact her about this stuff. We made attempts to like be amicable about this stuff. You know, when it became clear that we were not getting our stuff back, this is the action that we took. And she just kept trying to like chime in with the perfect answer. And you could tell that he was like over it. He was pretty much like, could see through everything that she was saying. And so much so that I was like, look, I don't know how this works. I've never been to court, but I have these text messages. Like, is that something, you know, that you'd be interested in? And he was like, we don't allow phones, you know, in the court. So I kept trying to make my case like outside of that. And eventually he was like, go get your phone. And I got my phone and he read through the text, you know, he swiped for 30 seconds and he was just like, okay, this bitch is crazy.
Like text between like your text messages with her directly,
I
and
mean,
he just swipes through, and
and
he's
like I
like,
said, I think that what he saw were the facts that we brought to the table were true, 1000%, right? And that everything she was bringing to the table was like more qualitative, just very like fluffy. You know, I mean, it wasn't, she clearly didn't respond to my text messages in the way that she was saying she responded, right? She clearly wasn't giving us an opportunity to get our stuff back. She clearly wasn't doing the things that she was saying she was doing. And so he was just kind of like,
He probably saw one of those novels too of like you this and that and the other and was like, okay, I got it.
yeah, I mean, it could have been any number of things, but it was very entertaining to see the mood in the room change very quickly, right? Like Rachel and I were scared that we weren't going to win. We couldn't afford not to win. And we were just trying to be like reasonable and factual and but nervous that that wouldn't get us as far as being performative gets her in life, right? And so that was a choice that we made, was to not go that direction, and we didn't know if it was going to pan out. And then when it did, we were just kind of like thank God.
How did it pan out? Like, tell us about that.
She ended up owing us money, and then he actually gave us a head start out of the courtroom. He basically was like,
"Oh, like y'all leave first, and then
yeah,
we'll let Elle come after."
yeah. And I
Damn.
forget how many minutes it was or, you know, whatever. But yeah, it was very much so like, we're going to give you some time to clear the area. And I don't know if that's, by the way, like, I don't know if that's standard. It
Standard or
probably
not?
is. I don't know. But that's definitely what happened with us. So, and that's, yeah, that's the last.
Time you
And then we fully did not expect to see that money, you know, because again, don't know how court works. She's apparently never been held accountable for anything in her life. And so we were just kind of like, well, that was a win for us mentally and morally, but like we'll see if it actually pans out. But we did end up getting a check, like not not long after.
Mommy Dearest wrote that one, I bet.
I bet. I don't understand that still to this day. Like I have a lot of theories, but her family situation was very weird. Her money situation was very weird. It
Maybe
makes
you
me
can give
think
me
that her
this
family
part note.
does know everyone in the town, because how do you just survive like that as a grown woman without someone doing it for you? I don't understand.
which is probably what I mean. I don't know, Jake. You married her. What do you think? Well, and why don't we use this as the opportunity to transition? Because that's crazy, Chelsea. Thank you for sharing all of that. Wild.
Wait, there's one more thing before we transition. You had told me when we spoke that the other thing that happened, you know, we didn't talk about the check, but she like dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, like could not be like, so obviously she blocked us. I mean, that feels standard, you know? And at the time, like Facebook was not what it is today in terms of like privacy settings. You know, you couldn't really pick like who saw what. You were either blocked or you weren't, I think. if I remember correctly. And yeah, one day she was on the internet, and then the next day she just was not. And we only had maybe one mutual friend who was actually a friend to both of us. And that person was either blocked or she legit like changed her number. I have no idea, but she stopped working at that bike shop and like was just gone. I don't even understand it really. I don't understand it.
So how long after that, Jake, did you meet her? Because what year did you meet her for the first time?
2016.
2016. And she was at the bike shop, right?
Allegedly. I mean, I knew it existed, and she occasionally, just like Chelsea, I took her there one day because she told me she had to go there, and I was like, what is that? And she works there, but she also was a student driver and a server that tended bar at the restaurant I was a sous chef at once a Friday, once a month. It was like, same thing. It was like, you know, very well put together and always working, and but, you know, does all these things, but never at work. Okay, we can segue, but I really have to pee.